Consider part of education in order. And we'll start by the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all.
I would like to start by welcoming our new superintendent this evening, Mr. Chris Trezor.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Is it okay if I say something really quick? And I promise I'll shut up the rest of the time. But not later. I just want to take the opportunity, this is my official 1 week anniversary and first board meeting to, first of all, say thank you to the members of the board for trusting me to be here. And even probably more importantly, that the reception I've gotten thus far from students is probably the most impressive because a couple of them remember my name. But in particular for the staff who welcomed me throughout I didn't even realize it was a week until today. I kind of thought today was Monday. And apologize publicly to those I probably annoyed in the last 5 days and wanted to know where things were. So particularly Trent and Krista and Pam and Sarah, because they're here stuck with me all day long. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you for not just the chance to be part of this community, but to be a part of this community for what I hope to be is a very long time. And if my first week is anything like the next, hopefully dozen years, then I know I absolutely made the right decision coming here. So thank you, and I will.
Thank you.
Now it's time to get to work. It's been a long 90 days.
Okay, we will start by correspondence.
Oh, we have no correspondence this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Reports from our student board or education representatives.
It's just me tonight. Hi, guys.
Hi.
All right, get us started with clubs. So NHS is almost done for the year. They have their elections for their executive positions coming up. I think they're tomorrow. I think they might be next month, one or the other. Student government is also holding their elections for next year's president, vice president, chief of staff, and then their underclassmen representative. Students will be giving speeches tomorrow. I know that for a fact during Flex. Ecology Club is going to be going on a hike on the 2nd, and they're also hoping to plan a picnic at Gillette's Castle before the end of the year. So I think we get that. DECA had a field trip to Main Street. Sorry, they had a field trip to Main Street that went really well. So the whole purpose of it was so they could go and look at local businesses and just get more of a feel on like business management and marketing and that sort of thing. And a lot of students felt like they learned a lot. They went to the Cat Cafe, they went to Pearls and Plaid and Sweet Luna's and a lot of those local businesses that make Main Street so special. Academic, we had underclassmen awards on the 23rd, and then senior awards are going to be on the 30th. AP testing is over. So great. We didn't have bells for 2 weeks and now they're back. We have a lot more structure now. Finals are approaching. A lot of classes are beginning their preparations for that. Students are very excited for the year to end, but also with finals becoming, there's a lot of stress and tension building. Many classes have been going on field trips. So health classes went to Goodwin to help out with Wellness Day and to work with the younger students. So they had a bunch of different blocked out schedules and students and their teachers could sign up for them. There was like obstacle courses and musical chairs and dance parties. It was a really great time. Everyone had a lot of fun. The physics and the anatomy classes went to like compounds. Both of these were last Friday. Then for extracurriculars, the middle and high school bands performed in the Memorial Day Parade yesterday, and the high schoolers performed in the ceremonies before and after. 8 members of chorus will be singing the national anthem at the ceremony that happened before the Memorial Day Parade. And then for sports, okay, so track, we had Shorelines on the 22nd, and we came in 3rd. States are tomorrow. The boys placed 7th at Shorelines. Tennis had Shorelines on the 20th. Many athletes didn't perform as well as they had hoped to, but they did have a really good time and they enjoyed the day. The girls ended with a record of 7 and 8, and the boys ended with a record of 1 and 14. So not our best season. Boys lacrosse ended their regular season 14-2. They won Shorelines, which was great. And I know they have a game for states right now. I think it's their first or second round. Girls lacrosse also had a great season, record of 9-2. They were unfortunately beat by North Branford in the first round of their Shoreline tournament, which has always been our #1 rival for lacrosse. Softball had a record of 11-9. They lost their first round of Shorelines against HK, and then unfortunately, they just lost their first round against East Catholic in States Today. Baseball also had a good season, record 8-12. They lost to North Branford in the playoffs for Shorelines, and they just lost today 2-1 for their first states game. Crew, girls team lost Shorelines, and boys team lost Shorelines. And then for golf, they are participating in the Shoreline tournament. I haven't been in great contact with the golf team, but they are in the Shoreline tournament. So that's that.
Great, thank you. Do you have any questions for Board Rep? Jeff?
Yes, Sam, thank you. Quick question. You mentioned AP testing and
Yeah.
exams, obviously stressful times for students. Is there any conversation among the students about suggestions that they might make to reduce the stress or changes?
Well, I did an AP test this year. I'm not taking any AP classes this year. I will be next year. But from what I've heard, honestly, it's a stressful time leading up to it more than I think the day itself, because there's so much anticipation and stress and you have to do so much studying. I think that it's probably just something that comes with high school and AP classes. I don't think there's much of a way to reduce that stress. I think going home or being able to come in late after or before the exam, depending on the time, really helps a lot of students. Because they don't have to worry about taking classes after an AP test, and they don't have to worry about having to take them before. That definitely helps ease a lot of stress, but other than that, I haven't heard of any. I don't really know.
Thanks, thank you. Okay, next moving on, audience of citizens. Track, do anybody in line? Not. Okay. Easy enough. Meeting minutes. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, please. Second,
Second.
by Karen, any discussion, questions? Okay. Seeing there's no questions, all those in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? So moved, thank you. Okay, moving on, education issues for discussion, we will start with student representative survey results. Eileen?
So, good evening, Samantha Hanover and Amelia Wecker. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Which are our student representatives to the Old Saybrook Board of Education, return the completed surveys to the Board of Education, and the surveys are actually given to student representatives annually and gives the student representatives the opportunity to comment on their experiences and their perceived value and impact, and offer any suggestions for the improvement of the student representative program here at Old Saybrook. And so these surveys were in your packet for the opportunity to ask any questions, but I just highlighted a few things and probably will just ask Samantha just to give a little bit of an overview. I think we really have had the good fortune of having two wonderful student reps coming to our board, especially prepared and being able to join in discussions as they feel they can contribute. And so their surveys definitely reflect the fact that they felt respected and very much a part of this Board of Education in terms of making decisions. And they know that they could add an item to the agenda. And so with that, Samantha, I just wanted to share one thing and then I'll let you share something that you might think is really salient. So she said, I thoroughly enjoyed getting to see how much the parents and teachers of Old Saybrook care for the students here. And I feel as though it's brought me closer to the district. And she really took time to write this. So any thoughts from you that you wanted to share?
Yeah, so being on the board was something that I had thought that I wanted to do since my freshman year, because I knew an upperclassman who was on the board and it just seemed like a really cool experience. She came back to Superior with so much to share every time. She was always taking information from us and writing down notes, and it just seemed like it'd be something really cool and really fun to do. And I've definitely enjoyed this past year being here. I know that I haven't been able to come to as many meetings as I would have liked to, because of a lot of sport conflicts, but I really did enjoy my time here. I enjoyed watching all of you have to make all those really hard decisions and have those really long conversations about one topic at a time. Because I know that you guys really care for us and you want to see us have the best education and the best year that we can. And it was just really great to see how much you guys really do care for us as students and honestly value our opinion too. Being here and being able to give my opinion on everything every other week has been really great. You guys have always been so attentive and you make me feel very respected, and I really have appreciated my year here.
Well said.
Super. And Amelia shared something that she said, I think it was good that we were required to attend a meeting beforehand, since we're able to see what the representation actually did and get a firsthand perspective of what it's like to be at these meetings. And make a decision if they're gonna be part of this. And also, I think you say Suprin, is that what that is?
Yeah, super.
Gave an opportunity for you to get feedback to
Yeah.
students.
I definitely remember the first time that we came to a meeting, you guys were talking about like a tree house or something, or a house that you wanted to move.
Oh, yeah.
And I vividly remember it, like,
Yeah.
it was it was interesting, it was really,
Yeah.
it was a good meeting, I appreciated that.
And one other comment, part of it is also some suggestions that you might have to make this participation even more valuable. And I know that you indicated something to the fact that bi-weekly reports were difficult. This is just helpful for the next
Yeah,
student.
occasionally they were difficult because sometimes super didn't meet, and that's where I got a lot of my information from, but you had to be in constant communication with pretty much every group in the school every week to be able to get enough information to have a thorough report back to you guys, which was sometimes kind of difficult, especially when a lot of clubs didn't have things going on, or in like the weird in-between season between sports, like sometimes it was difficult to collect enough information to report, but we always managed. I don't know.
Right, you did an excellent job. And
I have a question for you and then another one for you, I'm sorry. Eileen, I understand that the new student reps for next year may already have been decided. If not, that they're gonna be decided soon. Do Sam and Amelia meet with the new students to share some of their personal experiences?
they had the opportunity to meet with those new students.
And they were chosen.
And they were.
They have.
They were
Yeah.
chosen.
Okay,
Another
I didn't want to speak
Yeah,
ahead.
no, they were
Yeah.
chosen by the student body.
Good. Sam, do you have feedback for the next year's group on how to garner all of that input from the student body? Because that's hard.
Definitely.
And I know they're super in, but it doesn't reach out to
Yeah.
everyone.
Definitely. So number one most helpful thing that I have had has been social media. So being able to have all of the Instagram accounts, which are constantly updated by sports teams, has been great because I've been able to just look at those and see records and see last wins and last losses. Like that's been really great. It's also just really important. Our new students that we have coming up, I know the two of them, and they're both very different people. So I think that they'll be able to reach a lot of different groups, which is really beneficial for them. I think it's just really important to make sure that you are talking to people. So a lot of times, 2 or 3 days before my report is due, I'll panic. I'll go, oh my God, I don't have enough information. And I'll just sit in one of my classes and be like, guys, hit me. Tell me everything you got. And that's pretty helpful too. So I think I would just talk to them and make sure that they're talking to their peers and their friends and getting that information.
Jane, go ahead.
Yeah, so just one question, I think this is great. The feedback that we've gotten from you, Anna Amelia, has been wonderful, and you've been a wonderful resource for us as a board. And it keeps us grounded in why we're here and what we're, who we're trying to impact the most. That said, and no pressure on this, but just curious, do you think there's information flowing back? Like, do you think most students know that you and Amelia are the board reps, would you say?
I'd say so, especially because I put it on pretty much everything that I do. I'm always saying, oh yeah, I'm a student board rep. And throughout the year, every single person that I've talked to has told me at least something that I've put in my report.
Great.
So I know for me personally, a lot of people do know that I'm the Board of Ed rep. If they don't, then they find out very quickly. I don't know. I feel like that's known for me. I can't speak for Amelia, but I feel like people do know that I am, especially because Mr. A sends out that email at the start or the end of the school year telling everyone who the Board of Ed is, and like reps are, and everyone has to vote for their own reps. So that's definitely helpful. I feel like I'm pretty well known as the rep. Yeah.
Great.
Samantha, thank you so much. I wanted to announce who the reps were for next year. Samantha Walsh and Joe Compton. Did I pronounce it right?
You so, but I just got here.
He goes by JV. Yeah, I was gonna say. he goes by JV.
And I just wanted to mention that Amelia mentioned a learning experience for her, but that's probably something that can get passed on when you do the introduction, to the new student reps. And she said, I need to be prepared anytime I give a report in future situations. This is because you'll be asked questions about what you wrote and you need to know what the answers are. So it's learning experience, and we're grateful that you were here. And we want to thank Trent for also being in contact with the student reps.
We talk every week.
Every week. He's been very helpful.
I actually, it's fun when I get a chance to get to the high school and I see Amelia Archibald in the hallway.
He follows me.
Yeah, just everywhere she goes, very engaged, so, but yeah, you guys have been wonderful.
Thank you. I'm very, very grateful for having this opportunity. So thank you all for letting me be here.
Thank you.
Can you?
Just real quick, JV and Samantha, what grade
They're
will
gonna
they
be
be in?
juniors.
They're gonna be juniors. Okay, great.
Thank you so much. So moving on, we have an adapted physical education pilot. Dr. Bachman gets up for her tonight.
Yeah, and actually it's gonna be Emily Davis.
Hi, everyone.
Both teach at the middle school. And yeah, we're doing that.
Okay. So essentially our goal by adding this class is to ensure that all students get a chance to be, or participate in phys ed. We have some students right now with like unique level and needs. So by bringing this class to Old Saybrook Middle School, they never would have to miss PE. So for example, if they were maybe struggling mentally, physically, emotionally in their space, and they couldn't come down to the gymnasium, James or I could go to them once or twice a week. That way they would still be getting the hours or minutes, excuse me, that they would need per week. And they would still be getting that physical activity. Of course, we want them to come to the gym and we hope that they come to the gym, but sometimes it's not always the safest. And,
This is one of my slides.
yeah,
a little bit,
oh,
and
sorry.
So for the rationale, this course will allow us the ability to teach all students in our school. And especially specifically our students with disabilities. It'll allow for students to get more practice with their eye-hand coordination, object control, locomotor skills, and socialization across the school.
With the strategic plan, we broke down all three of the goals. So the first one would be that students will be challenged, respected, represented throughout all of Old Saybrook Middle School. The second one with being high quality instruction. We'll be able to talk and collaborate with communities and other schools that have these classes, with staff, with our wonderful Smalley. And then goal number 3 for safe and supportive environment. That's like the most important, I think, in this case, is that every student knows that they have a sense of belonging in Old Saybrook Public Schools and that they're always, like, we're here for them.
And the secondly, for building goals, just allowing students to be more involved, with skill and activities that all students are doing. And just also just helps them with their body control, their understanding, we want them to enjoy PE and physical activity. So being able to go to where they are and make it fun for them is gonna be one of our big goals. And just helping them with their socialization, sportsmanship, and cooperation with peers of all, 5th grade to 8th grade.
Like I said before, some of the data is that students that have adapted PE or will have adapted PE will be able to see them once or twice a week for 43 minutes. There's currently 2 students that have it in their IEPs, and there's a potential from the fourth grade and new students to the district that there'll be 7 more students participating.
And our biggest challenge is just scheduling, it's just making sure that we have time in our schedules for adaptive phys ed and that we are able to go meet students or have them come down to the gym.
And one thing that's not in this slide, well, some part of the successes, I guess, is James is currently the unified coach. So we have peers and special ed students all combined, and I think this year out of all the years, it's really been a great collaboration. You can see it at the middle school, the kids walking in the hallways, they know names. And so I think that's a really big success that maybe we forgot on there, but just essentially making sure that they hit their number of PE hours per week, that we can safely go to them and that they're able to get their physical fitness.
So the next steps would be adding the class to our schedules, and although there is no certification to be an adaptive PE teacher in Connecticut, we would like to get some training, so we were able to better meet our kids' needs.
And at this point, we do have places in our schedule where we would be able to make them available to go into classrooms, and work with students in some very small groups.
So is there anything specifically that you're looking for from the board?
Well, it would be an additional class, a new class for the middle school, so you guys would have to.
Two questions. So you mentioned you have to find training. Is this it's a great concept. I love this. Is it common in our area or certain schools that they have this adaptive PE?
Yes.
Something like that, okay. Okay, great. So finding training shouldn't be,
Yeah, and we
Just
even
don't
in the
involve really-
like state health and phys ed conference, there are some course sessions for adaptive.
okay. And then is there thoughts about adding something like this to the other schools as well as the middle school?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question, in high
Yeah.
school, because it is a requirement.
I think it would make sense at some point to add, well, actually thinking about how to incorporate that at the elementary school right now. The high school students are, it's more of a scheduling issue.
Always is, yeah.
So most of the students at, the middle school have flexible schedules and they're a little bit more dynamic, so there can be changes and, you know, if these guys are available one day per chance, you know, and the student is available, that can work. That's great. At the high school, they're a little more tied into specific scheduling pieces. And I would have to explore that moving forward. However, I will say at the high school, our Unified Buddies program is growing, so that happens during Flex. It's not called Unified Buddies here. What is it called? Unified Flex, I think, and I think they're rebranding it. So again, it's an opportunity when peers and students with special needs come together and actually work and do social things together. So it is expanding.
Okay.
I think the next place I want to go is the elementary.
Elementary, okay. Thank you.
Steve? So is there a projected cost associated with this?
I mean, other than possible training, which they often go to the conferences anyway, so not really, no.
Yeah.
We're able to build it into their schedule currently.
Yeah, we've
And a lot,
budgeted, we've bought a lot of equipment in the past just for students that we can modify.
So really, the board just needs to say, yeah, we really have an idea.
yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
I may have a lead on some training.
All right.
It don't work for me anymore, but I think I got some connections.
Before we do my question, I'd like to get a motion, we can approve this pilot.
Make a motion to approve the request.
Adaptive physical
Yes.
education.
Clean it up.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Get a second, by John. Finally.
Yeah, so is this something that came about because you realized that the children with special needs were not getting physical education that you really, you know, felt they needed?
It's not so much that they weren't getting it. I think this year there were 2 specific students that really, I don't know, shined like some sort of light on us. That we were kind of hanging out with them or they were coming down to us at different times. And then we kind of just, like a light bulb went off and we started collaborating with other teachers in other districts and they had talked about these certain classes. And that's kind of really where it came from.
He doesn't need to get into an IEP or? Well, these
It
students.
certainly helps at
Yeah,
PPT
that's
meetings
what I'm
if they
saying.
can offer the course as part
Yeah,
of a
correct.
well-rounded program of studies.
Right, just to make sure that you have the time, because that's a lot,
Yeah,
right, to run in and make sure that kids aren't missing something, in their classroom, but be able to come out and have goals and objectives for them.
Would it ever be appropriate for a student to join you with this kind of one-on-one? Is that ever, just throwing that out there, is it an opportunity to be a little more integrated in a different place?
Yeah,
Yeah. We actually, we currently have a unified PE class as well, which is a one-to-one students with intellectual disabilities and students without intellectual disabilities. Who we have it's an extra PE class where we get the students to work with each other on sportsmanship. So, and this
Great.
would be an extra opportunity where we could pull some other kids too.
and sometimes even the unified PE is too overwhelming for some of our students, so
Okay.
we're really looking to make it even smaller.
Okay.
I guess, lesson inside of a lesson for some specific kiddos.
Okay, if no other questions, we can call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the pilot?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? So moved, thank you.
And then, when will you come back to let us know how it will function, or how it's a pilot, how long will it run starting next fall?
I can add it to my board updates.
Perfect, thank you.
We won't be making.
yeah,
beginning of
I
next year.
that was a little bit, beginning, but I was back.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Okay, we have, on the same topic, we have a German book pilot as well tonight.
Guten Abend. Usually I start with French when I do presentations, even now. I have to do it in German, not all of it from the grammar. So Manon Sumbaum is my name. I know half of you. The board definitely has changed since my last Quebec presentation, but it's nice to see new faces and old faces too. So the German course has been put into the schedule for this year officially during the school day. Maybe you remember during COVID, I had a German course that was a hybrid online and in person. And so this year fits into the schedule and I have time in my schedule. So it's a German one course that has already been approved, but I would like to ask for permission to also buy a resource for the teacher, for me, and especially for the students. So the course has been already approved. There has been student interest over the years. This is my 16th year. And I'm quite, involved with the town and table. And I've talked to a lot of people over the years and they're all really like the idea that we offer yet another language as well. So, I'm excited, we're excited about that. So that covers the third point as well. There is research that says that when you do have the paper pencil picture over the book versus always only looking onto a screen, big or small in front of you, helps learning and retaining as well. And the 21st century skills, communication is our first standard for world language. So that is definitely always part of our teaching and learning, but also curiosity and imagination. We try to teach our children to be open for other cultures and ways of life that comes at the same time as learning language. And agility and adaptability, there are many situations when you learn a language where it can be frustrating or overwhelming. And so I think that learning a world language can help students to develop those skills as well. German one is open to all students. And for the high quality instruction, there will be plenty of opportunities to apply the learning and support global citizenship. Applying of the learning, I mean that they will be asked to speak, to converse, to present, not just speaking, also in writing, but those skills are definitely important for high quality instruction. And the environment, I like to say that in our classroom, students feel safe and they feel that they can make mistakes and we can all learn as a community from each other. And we're on a equal playing field, so to say. So, yeah. The connection to the building forwards, application of learning, making visible, student goal setting, all those are very important in the world language classroom. We use the ACTFL standards, can do statements, where students can understand at what level they are and what they need to do to reach the next level. The APPLE test, I think, you remember, that we do that in all, schools actually now. So that's, there are many opportunities for children to, connect with where they came from, where they're at now, and where they can get to with, more, application of their learning. And then professional learning, I mean, it's always important to never stop for us adults either, so we will have to calibrate and define, use data, and that can really go across German, French and Spanish. 'Cause I know there's 3 different languages, but we all teach it together. Standards are the same, same challenges and expectations. So I touched on that earlier, that there always has been a big interest, but never mind German. But other students over the years have shown us that they're very interested in languages that we cannot teach in our schools. And so we're always open to take on independent studies and to also let students do their AP exam in languages that we don't represent right now. And then APPLE, actually for the first time this year, a student, actually JB, your new board rep, he's a sophomore right now, did the APPLE test in Portuguese and did very, very well. So he already has the seal of literacy at this point. He did say to me, I'm still taking it in French next year because he's in French with me. So, and then he said, and maybe I will also do it in Spanish. So, seal of literacy in 4 languages, that would be great. Next slide, please. So I had students, I had the other ones not there, but I had students from high level courses look at 3 different books that I ordered as an example. And all students agreed that they really liked this. It's called Portfolio Deutsch Neu. So this is a book company that is known for school books, but this one actually specifically makes German books for American students in America. So what that means, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more in a little bit, that it already helps American students compare their lifestyle in America with students in Germany specifically. So you know that the bookmakers, and the company is from Germany, they really know what they're talking about, which, you know, I know what I'm talking about too, but it's nice to prove it by also a good book that shows that, yes, these are the ways of lives and how does it compare to America. And so the students that looked at these books, they said that it's very fresh and fun and organized. They thought that the flow seemed right. They thought that it was not overwhelming, not too many, maybe different prints or colors and so on. Yeah, they thought it was good for the high school audience. The instructions for level 1 are actually in English. One of the other books, all the instructions were in German, and that can be a little overwhelming. And again, the American context. So I don't know if you can maybe send this down. So this is the book, and then there is a workbook. This is where I was saying earlier, it's really like paper, pencil students. Every year I say, would you like to order the paper version or the online version? And they all want the paper version. So it's very interesting how they prefer to learn like that. There's a testing program, and then there's a teacher manual. And then there come these small little storybooks already in level 1, where you know, I can have students read a story, and we can talk about the questions, the understanding, and extend from there. So I leave it here. Yeah, so right now, this is the level 1 book that you have there. And what I really like also about this company is that, it's geared toward the standard and the Apple level, that we work with. So novice low, novice mid should be a level 1 high school, level 2 novice mid, novice high, and then level 3 into intermediate mid. That's exactly how we consider also level 1, 2, and 3 in Spanish and French. So it's nice to see that across the field. And so, I mean, I have the other books here, but Klasse was another German book by the same company. Again, I believe that the portfolio is better because instructions are in English. It's a little bit geared more towards more practice and a little bit slower because we're not trying to prepare the students in level 1 for an AP exam, for example. Would that be nice eventually? Yes, and we have 4 years in high school, but as this is the first time and this is a pilot, I think it's better that we go the way that aligns with what they use in Spanish and French as well. I wanted to say also that, and I didn't put that in a slide, but for me, this is never the end of resources. I love to use real authentic resources from either books that I have or from the internet websites, like a high school website in Germany where you can look at a menu from the cafeteria and see the food and see the words that way. So as nice as this is, I know that there's also a lot of good out there that I can filter through and share with students as well. So you know that we have been very supportive of what languages here. And you know, sometimes things have to change, yes, but we're not, change doesn't mean that we're going backwards. It means that maybe we're doing things a little bit differently or we're adding things. We're seeing who we have in front of us, what their interests are, and we adjust. So I think it's a perfect opportunity and it fits in the schedule to add another language. And then, like I said earlier, the seed of literacy, not only in languages that we actually teach, and the scope and sequence of French, Spanish, and with the line with German. Challenges. I had my talks with Carrie, especially the last couple of months, about my worries for students, and so I was very focused on we need material that sparks interest and imagination. You know, students need to be able to, what they learn, to then use in their speaking and their writing. And I think that that is something personally, I pretty much love that as my personal challenge. I need to find other ways to reach students with ideas and images and music and, you know, that speaks to them now. I'm not getting younger, and so I need to like jump on that train and go with them. But I think that a fresh new textbook would help me, would help the students to have that bridge from just learning something versus now you need to give me output, right? I give the input and then you need to let it come out in speaking or writing. And so that's going to be a challenge, but I'm sure that we will be successful. And this text supports the speaking and communication, our world language standard. Next steps, the course curriculum. I'll be working here this summer for the summer curriculum writing in the French curriculum, but also the German curriculum, or whatever you see fit, of course. And I will familiarize myself with the text and students' interests and needs and abilities. And yeah, professional learning, teacher communities. Actually, this company, I'm starting to get emails now where they do webinars in the evening about activities and other teachers that I can reach out. In fact, who was that? I think Christine Meyer said to me, that the German teacher in East Lyme heard that we would have German, and she would like to talk to me more about it. So I didn't even ask for it already, which is great. That tells you how it counts really well together. She would love to support me in starting this program. I think that's it, right? Is it?
Steve,
Start out by making a motion to support, the purchase of the textbooks. Right, that's what, we're looking for from the board?
Yeah.
Purchase of the textbooks for the
second
schools.
by Jim Anderson.
Question.
Mary,
Could you tell me what, HQI,
High quality instruction.
okay, and the AAPPL?
That's our Apple test. It's through ACTFL, the American Association for Teachers of Languages. It's a certain test that it goes through a company. It's called LTI, Language Testing International. And so students take it in 07 to 4th grade, 8th grade, and then again as juniors. And they have to test at a specific level minimum, which is intermediate mid. And so when you pass the test at that level, plus your English graduation requirements upon graduation, then you get the seal of literacy on your diploma and you get to wear a special cord. So we have to remember that too, that when we're teaching French, and Spanish and German, that we really prepare the students for the Apple test, the AP test, so that they can have those successful additional stories that they can talk about when they apply for a job or colleges.
So it's then in high school, we offer Spanish, I know, and French and German, and then something about Italian.
So what happens is sometimes children, that was a couple of years ago, they also speak, actually, not only sometimes, they speak even other languages at home, right, besides Spanish. And so Portuguese has been one, Russian is one. I have a student right now who wants to do AP Russian, but we don't have an official Russian teacher, so she came to me to ask if I would do an independent study with her. Yeah, so I think students can feel that they are welcome to take care of their roots, other languages, other cultures, and I don't know, it just makes them feel that they can be open about that.
Right, so the formal classes are Spanish, French, and German.
Yes, yeah.
Wonderful, thanks so.
Jane, question?
Yeah, I want to say this is excellent. I think it's exciting. It's great for us as a district. I just love hearing this, just, and it's great feedback from the students. And to know that they weighed in on what books that they want, and that they do want books is really great feedback for us to have as we move forward with other similar things. So thank you so much for sharing that, and it's really encouraging and refreshing to get away from screens
Yes,
and onto books.
yes, thank you.
Steve?
I'd just like to echo that. I actually had written that down. I want to make sure that we're hearing students say that they would like the actual book in hand and not online, because I feel, with my son, all too often things like, oh, here's the assignment, do it online. And I look at it, well, where's your book? I don't have, and I know they're expensive, and I know there's a convenience with a computer, and everybody's got a computer, but hearing the students are also saying similar things that I hope we as a board and an administration that we're listening to that, because that would be really nice to.
I think it's a home run. So,
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Vielen Dank.
Karen,
No, I was just gonna say with the increased diversity with our ML learners, I think I love that, there's greater interest in learning about other languages and cultures. So the German course, is that open to all grades?
Yes, yeah,
And-
it doesn't matter what age, what grade,
Okay.
it's just German one.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
no other questions, let's call for a vote.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the German pilot, the vote, the vote.
It's the German word for yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All those opposed? Abstentions? And so moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, actually, you know what, you can keep that.
No.
And get the election, Jane.
Trade me in, that's all I can.
That's where I got it from.
That's the way to.
Okay, so, the next item on our agenda is the PDEC evaluation process.
Sorry, before you begin, I'm gonna mention that I skipped you on the apologies in the beginning. Because I think you're the only one in this office I haven't annoyed yet, so I wanted to skip you. I think because of our choices in sports teams, I didn't annoy you yet, so please don't read into that. Sorry, I'll get back over the doctor.
So I guess I am back on my tour of delivering to you things that the state has changed and how we are adapting to said changes here in Old Saybrook. So this is more of the tour through that. And our rationale tonight is just that. This is seeing how our professional development and evaluation committee, or PDEC, has approached some of the changes. And it has been a long year of figuring out how the state was actually putting all of these things together. We didn't get the final draft from the state until maybe sometime in mid-March, early April, where they provided a written document. They had several training courses to which Joe and Matt attended in the fall. I attended one that took place later in January, and even from the trainings they provided through CABS, the messaging still changed from what we got in the final version. So I want to elaborate a little more on who our PDEC is. It's a 10-person committee. And even inside of that, with our evaluation plan, it was, they added members who should be a part of it. So we also, as part of our PDEC committee, have a paraeducator, because that was part of the state's request to have them be a part of your PDEC committee. And the PDEC not only looks at your evaluation plan for certified teachers and administrators, but it also looks at how we build our professional learning plan to meet the needs of our educators so that we can get to the goals inside of our strategic plan. So everything that we're doing here is aligning with the state's evaluation guideline, and the group was tasked with trying to think more innovatively around how we could build a evaluation plan that allows us flexibility, independence, true engagement inside of this process, and not just what it had been, which was just a simple check in the box. Like, I completed these tasks, I can move on to the next year. So I know that this had come up in a different meeting. So I want to make sure that I cover, well, what did our old plan look like? So our old plan was based on the rating system. So 50% was a summative rating. Based on outcomes, we had teachers making anywhere from 1 to 3 goals that they would have to create. Those goals had student learning objectives, or SLOs. All SLOs had an IEGD, where they had independent measures of how they were going to get to that student learning objective. There was also a whole school learning indicator. On the other side, we had our practice ratings. And with that came observations from an evaluator to a teacher or administrator. We also had stakeholder feedback. And then all of this together was averaged in through a calculation, and it produced a summative rating. A lot of technicality inside of this. So this is where a lot of the things happen. So it's inside of our observations. This is from the CCT, domain 3 for instruction, and a principal, assistant principal, myself, the superintendent could go into a classroom and observe based on this. And the big piece about this, it was all around a rating. And you can see the rubric has these below standard, development, proficient, exemplary that a teacher would fall inside of. And it was all based on that rating system. And at the end, a teacher could fall into one of those ratings. They could be below standard, development, proficient, or exemplary. So this was the rating system that everything was built inside of. So how did Old Saybrook approach this? And even from the evaluation plan that you approved earlier this school year. When an administrator was looking at this from a building level, they would have their non-tenured teachers, and they fell into this bucket over here on the left. And then all of the tenured teachers inside of our district fell into this bucket, but then they still fell into one of these three cycles. Now, I'm sure by now you see the complication of this entire system. There's a lot of ratings, there's a lot of division, there's a lot of focus on the technical aspects of this evaluation plan. So if you go to the next slide, this is what PDEC was facing when they all came together. Before we can even think about how do we innovatively bring our team together, think about how do we approach evaluation, professional learning, we had to overcome the aspect of what our previous system was. These challenges, right? It was focused on the ratings, and everyone who came into a meeting wasn't thinking about professional growth. They were thinking about, okay, I'm exemplary or I'm proficient. And now we're going to be in this meeting to talk about how I am exemplary or proficient, and not, okay, is there anywhere in my practice where I can grow professionally to better meet the needs of our students? Some of it was just designed around compliance to task. Some of it was technical issues that we would have. And we would see like, oh, I don't know how to use the system. I have a document over here, but it's supposed to be over there. I can't find this document. Where do I drop it? The structure wasn't friendly for all of our professionals, like the district, and it didn't really allow for a lot of risk taking because you wanted to meet the criteria, and people were doing the things to play safe and meet that criteria. So now looking at how do we move forward from that, after naming some of the challenges that currently exist, we want to be able to see how do we think innovatively? How do we build a true system where our teachers and leaders can really work together and engage in authentic activity and authentic professional learning? How do we really have opportunities for reflection and opportunities for feedback? And these were 3 points that came to our PDEC sessions to move forward. Bless you.
Thank you.
So thinking about our strategic plan, the part of our plan that we really want to focus on is the vision of a learner. So if you click that slide one more time, Trent, well, we're seeing that our learners are at the center, and we're trying to get them to their highest aspirations. So everything about our students need to be at the center of what we're doing inside of our professional learning plan. And that brings us to our next slide, which is, forgot about that growth. The OSPS, HQI, high quality instruction heuristic. We're using this as a decision-making tool to help us see which of these student outcomes are we really trying to get to inside of our classroom. Whether that be goal setting next steps, application of learning, or students making their thinking visible. Because all of this is coming down to building our collective efficacy. And this is very similar to the same slide, if you go to the next one, Trent, that we looked at during the literacy pilot. So we're still continuing down that same pathway of seeing how can we use the power of our teachers and educators and leaders to build the capacity of our teachers and educators so that we can help our students reach their highest aspirations. So continuing inside this mindset, here is the state's version of the plan. On the left side is the leader continuous learning process. On the right side is the educator process. A lot of this looks very similar to the plan that we already had in place. All this is a goal setting meeting that takes place in the fall, a mid-year review to see how far we've come along with those goals, and an end of year reflection to see, okay, you set that goal, we checked in, how far did we get to achieving that goal that we set at the start of the year? Where we would look to have a slight shift inside of our model is more around this idea of developing professional learning communities. Now, professional learning communities have all of these research-based practices And I wanted to include, some of these things inside of the slide to show like the rhythm and the variety of interactions, the presence of people's lives, they have this need to interact. Participation is easy, which we saw wasn't the case on the other slides. That each interaction needs to create some value. And that's what we want to build. Next slide, Trent, and continue with more of that 13, that they evolve as they go, and that people within the group have responsibilities to help move the learning forward. So we're looking at how do we use this type of system to really build the learning, to really build the professional growth, to build the interactions with our teachers, with our leaders inside of Old Saybrook. And really centering back on our heuristic of making those decisions around student outcomes. Because even at the start of this school year, we were saying this was year 3 of our strategic plan, here's where the rubber meets the road. We want to make sure that we're keeping students right at the center of what we're doing, and we're seeing that growth with all of our students. So having that be at the center of our goal setting process and our evaluation plan would be doing that as well. So how this PLC would work. Beginning of the year, the goal setting, mid-year and end of year meetings would remain exactly the same. And we can use that language that the state has created for us and have this guideline, which is not very different or innovative from what we already currently have. Where some of the changes would happen is how the PLCs would work for our teachers and administrators, using the HUI heuristic as a way to choose that outcome. They would be able to figure out which of those tactics they would want to use, whether it be learning targets or student task and questioning. The educators would join a PLC that would connect with that outcome they're trying to get to. By grade level, departments, student outcome goals, the PLCs will plan how they would engage and interact with themselves and how they participate together. They would think about all of the conditions that they're currently seeing and really have independent time to think about what could they do in their classroom and what is currently happening inside of their classroom to address that student need and address any obstacles that are happening inside the classroom. And they'll be able to determine what their next steps would be through those interactions and peer observations. And all of these things would happen and develop in an authentic, engaged, purposeful reflection manner. And that's what we're looking to do. So professional learning community will continue to work towards those desired outcomes, deeper learning to build a collective efficacy, just like we've been trying to get to with the vision of a learner and utilizing our current professional learning structures. So we wouldn't have to change any structures that currently exist. We're just changing how we use that time. And PDEC is really managing the already approved calendar. I'm looking at our pre-approved professional learning times and release times to say, when would our PLCs meet? And organizing the time that way. And trying to be truly intentional around how we meet inside of these sessions. These essential questions are developed as a guide so that we can use these 4 questions to see what's the outcome that we're trying to get to. How will we know when each student reached it? So we have specific targets that we're still trying to get our students to. But I really like the questions 3 and 4, because 3 really forces us to think about, well, if students don't get to that, what do I do now? And for a lot of our students here, who we know achieve at high levels, well, what do I do to extend their learning? Because it's not that they achieved it, it's how can I continue to help them learn and learn more about what they need to do and how to apply their learning in different situations. So I like this aspect that we're not just thinking about it from a problem point of view, we're also thinking about how do we extend the learning for our students? And that is true learning and growth that we're trying to have inside of our session. So the benefits of these models. A PLC model asks our teachers to be truly professional, and that's what they are. And it's saying you're independent, you're gonna set your goal, you know what you need, and if you need assistance, you can reach out to either building leaders, myself, or any other person in the district to aid you in this growth plan. Focusing on peer observations. So now it's not a show that someone's trying to put on. It's something where I am truly looking and seeking feedback. Now, we're trying to have this be in that independence vein, but we can also have it where any member of a PLC can reach out to any administrator in the district to say, hey, come into my classroom, I'm looking for feedback. And I hear that you have expertise in this area, and please watch me perform this task. It also provides flexibility for our administrators so that they can go inside of their building and truly get a real read and a pulse on what's truly happening in their classrooms. And that will help in that goal setting as well. But then for any new teachers or new to district teachers who are joining us, it allows our administrators the time to go to those classrooms and offer support for all of those teachers who are either new to a profession or just new to our district. And that's where we want to focus that in. And the truth of the matter is, if we have teachers working in a majority independent plan, then they'll have the opportunity just to be in their own path, looking at what they need to look at and really focus on that particular goal. So what we still need to do is we're still designing the calendar to see where this would fit and which days would be designated to have PLCs running, like district professional learning days and those early release days. PDEC is researching structures, because if we're saying this, like having those essential questions or having specific roles and responsibilities is really key to having an effective PLC. So we want to make sure that if approved by this board tonight, that we have all of the structures necessary to help our PLCs run effectively. And then we'll have the opportunity to continue the plan for learning and seeing how this aligns inside of our high quality instruction.
Thank you. Question for Dr. Fletcher.
How out of the box is this? I mean, I know that's a hard question to ask, but or to answer, but what, I mean, listening to you talk about it sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
And I, you know, but I don't know if it's a 2% in the big scheme of what teachers are doing, or is it, you know, more significant than that? Because it seems when you're presenting, it seems really exciting.
So in terms of a evaluation plan, it's exciting. It's not happening. It's happening in some places, and some districts are moving towards this model with the flexibility. When you peel back the other pages in the state guideline, they don't have this. It really is just, it goes back into the previous plan that you're just going to have an administrator going into teachers' classrooms and having standard observations. And the goal setting meeting, that page is still the same. So that's the plan. There's no ratings on the new system. There's a single point rubric in the system. So you're not rating a teacher's based on your observation of them or having a summative rating at the end. That's the state's plan. This plan is actually something that teachers do outside of their workday. And maybe there were some districts, but I'm not aware of, maybe Superintendent Trezek is, where people were operating in a PLC. I know we were testing PLCs at the high school.
Recently,
This current school year, we were testing out PLCs as part of one of their tactics, their professional learning tactics to help get to that building goal. But as part of the overall evaluation plan, it wasn't a piece of it.
Yes.
Steve, go ahead.
Curious, you just mentioned, I believe you just mentioned, if I heard it correctly, that this is done outside the school day? Or there's parts of it done outside the school day?
So I was speaking more towards like how people have operated inside of a PLC, outside of an evaluation plan. But this plan that I'm presenting to you today would be inside of our existing professional development and our professional days.
I was gonna say, it sounds complicated. There's a lot in this. So my question is there buy-in from the teachers to go in this direction?
So right now, where we are with it is inside of the PDEC. The PDEC has bought into the plan. And then it will be sharing out with our teachers. There has been feedback from the high school around how they have engaged with professional learning. And there's several members who are able to leverage the high school knowledge from doing professional learning communities, and there has been buy-in there. The challenges that they faced was more around professional learning days and the structures when the professional learning communities happened. Because they had more flexibility inside of their plan at the high school of selecting when they would meet. Where we would have this built more into our calendar of when they would meet, because they found that to be a challenge.
Jack, go ahead.
In theory, it's a fantastic idea. You know, the idea of peers working with peers, getting feedback and such. Do you see at this point any time within a teacher's day for this theory to be in application without removing something else? In terms of time for planning, times for direct instruction. Do you see this being, thinking about the old process?
Yeah.
Which the entire evaluation process has been challenging. Let's leave it at that. This is a great idea. The new process, is it more time consuming in your opinion, just from the theoretical aspect? You said some of you experienced it in high school.
So not more time consuming. I think overall, this will probably streamline our system a little better. Because we would be focused on the application aspects of teaching and learning. And our teacher would be able to use what they're doing inside of their set planning periods to bring back to their scheduled PLC times. So the only thing that we would be changing is what the structures look like inside of our early release days. Having an hour or hour and a half dedicated for teachers to come together and bring their problems of practice. Say, hey, my students are really struggling with this. I tried this, didn't really seem to land. And now we're back in that idea of collective teacher advocacy. We're thinking about a problem that's happening in our current classes, and we're trying to solve that using teachers to help solve it and trying to research around it. So it seems like there's time that we already have and are using where this wouldn't be an add-on.
Right.
It would just be extracting something that we're already doing every day in the classroom and bringing it to a specific professional learning time and setting.
And how would the peers offer their feedback after their observations? How would that work?
So that is something that we're leveraging and I guess we specifically, Matt Walton at the middle school is bringing part of the feedback structure from the learning for the observational rounds and their learning walks that they do. And he's bringing that structure back to our PDEC group so that we can review that and see if that's something that we would use as a way to cycle that feedback to others. this would be something, even as we think about feedback from teachers to students, is gonna be something that we're working on all year long.
Would this be a dynamic process, meaning can it be adjusted, tweaked, changed? You know, over the course of year or years, it's not something you're committing to hard, honestly.
No, the professional learning, and that's one of the things inside of those two slides around the 13 attributes of a PLC. It's something that is dynamic. It's not something that's set in stone. It's
Right.
something that teachers are developing and redeveloping those structures and how they interact with each other. But the purpose of them is not to check the box. It's to have true interaction, true reflection, true engagement inside of that process. So with that, we'll be continually having professional learning opportunities to provide better feedback, to engage better. But we're also just looking at, well, how do I conduct a lesson in my class, and what should I be looking to bring back in terms of, like, here's a problem and here's what I'm trying to solve.
Actually, Karen, you were next.
I did a question. So you referenced in our earlier, you know, in the current or recent evaluation process, stakeholder feedback. So I know over the years, not recently, but over the years, this board has had a lot of lively discussion regarding that. What does it look like, and you know, the obvious complications. So what does it look like, or will that be incorporated in any way, shape, or form in this new eval plan?
So there still will be opportunities to collect stakeholder feedback. You know, stakeholder feedback from parents, stakeholder feedback from students will still be collecting that from a school level and a district level as well. There's opportunities there. It's not called out as explicitly inside of the new evaluation plan. So that, like, where that was part of the old plan, it's not an explicit part that's being called out.
So is that something that this district feels is valuable information? And is it just sort of a random process, random selection? What is the process exactly for garnering, gathering?
For which part? Are we talking about the older model?
No,
or-
how we're moving forward now.
So inside of the new plan, and this is something that we're still trying to fully flesh out. We're
Okay,
trying to see what is the best mechanism that will allow us to more dynamically collect student information, family information
yeah,
in real time. A lot of that is looking at, some of it is like survey information and survey feedback from our parents. And from students as well. And I don't think that that's something that we've done as much in the past. But we're looking to see how we could use tools like Qualtrics. Like, that's something,
I'm not familiar with
it's just another tool, hopefully, that simplifies the process of collecting information opposed to like a Google form that we would be normally used to.
Because you can, you know, certainly gather valuable information. There's always gonna be the outliers, but there'll be a theme. you
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
And that's what you wanna focus on, so. But yeah, so hopefully we can, you know, continue to incorporate that in some way. With this new plan.
Actually, before we go any further, Samantha, if you'd like to leave this
No,
bridge.
she's
No, I'm
very
actually,
interested.
I'm not making time.
I get here, she wants to. Steve, I think you were next on the list.
So I'm just slightly confused. Is there still a evaluation process? There's still a formal evaluation process where, like, you know, somebody who's not meeting standards is evaluated? And it's not just a group, I guess that's my. No. That's my concern, that there's still a process in place if somebody's not meeting expectations and the group is, you know, trying to help somebody. There's still a way to weed out those who can't.
Trent, can you go up one slide? So that last bullet is speaking, to what you're talking about. So while the majority of our teachers aren't on a tiered support plan or any type of structured plan, they would be inside of more of this independent model with a professional learning community. However, through feedback or observation, administrators going on learning walks and seeing certain behaviors inside of classrooms, that an administrator could have meetings with that teacher and then a structured plan, supportive plan could be put in place.
Okay.
So that is not, that is a option inside of this plan.
And then a follow-up to that, have we looked at the contract and made sure that this new idea or this new way of doing things works within whatever language we have in the contract? So that we don't have any issues, shoot something for us.
Yes.
Actually, before we go any further, I'm actually looking to get a motion to approve this evaluation plan.
So
Second by,
Oh, I thought
I'll second it.
I'm just raising my hand when you're looking at me.
okay, James, second by Steve, okay, go ahead. I think you're-
No, I know this is Chris's first meeting, but I would really like some feedback, you know, because this is a change. And if it needs to be on hold for any reason, it's a lot to absorb. I just find it a lot to absorb in one day. That's just,
Sure, and
because you are the educational leader of the district.
maybe I'll hold you, I didn't write at some point. And I know Corey already knows the answers. I think anything, taking a sort of a macro look at the whole process, anytime that there's a change, particularly with the word evaluation on it, the level of stress within your, particularly your teaching ranks is going to be elevated.
Sure.
So anytime a change is hard, but change particularly because there are going to be, I think, to your point, some teachers at home thinking, what does this mean for me as far as, am I gonna get a number? Am I gonna be? But I think to go to the other question with regards to, sort of that, is there anything contractually or anything along those lines? And I believe you hit on this earlier, but who's part of PDAC here?
Sure. So PDEC is comprised of administrators, teachers, school counselors, and a paraeducator. So we have several school administrator, and the remaining 6 participants are teachers from Goodwin, the middle school, and the high school.
If I could go back to where Carice started with, again, this is something else that the state sort of mandated this particular change, but it was done in conjunction with, to say, union leadership at the table. So this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. And again, I haven't had the opportunity to sit in on these meetings as I wished, but going away from the sort of the traditional model, even though it's not necessarily outlined in the state standards at this point, but taking a step toward PLCs. To answer your question, no, I didn't do that in my current district, although it was certainly, or my former district, sorry, you're right. That was something that was appealing to us as we reevaluated the model that we currently had, and that's something I'm encouraged to see here. So I would support the work that's being done with the full understanding that there's still a lot more work to do and a lot more buy-in from staff. Because ultimately we're the ones that are gonna have to enact this, not just coming from people that are in the.
Is it,
so Eileen,
is there any hesitation from principals? I know we have one here, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I'm just saying that, yeah, there's just a lot. Yeah, I'm not even, it's okay, Chris, I was just like, this is a lot to absorb.
Okay, I've learned how to blame Chris thoroughly.
Yeah, I'm just, that's all.
No, actually, I think it's really exciting. When I watched the staff work on their goals together, the teachers that work collaboratively on those goals and share their strategies, share their data, talk about what's working and what's not working, those are usually the most successful and the most opportunity to learn. I think it also gives the teachers a lot of agency, which is particularly important for them to be making decisions for what's going to be best in their classrooms. And it's an opportunity for them to find a learning path that's aligned to what it is that they feel that they need at that moment. And it's very differentiated because our staff is all in different places and has different needs, just like our students do. So I actually think it's a really interesting idea. I definitely have some questions about some of the managerial pieces of it, but minus that, I think we can work through that to get to a point where this is our main model for teacher growth, because it really goes from it just being about evaluation to it being about growth for staff.
With having that peer modeling, it's less intimidating for a staff member to have, you know, another second grade teacher come in and talk through some of the challenges they may have, as opposed to, you know, me or Heston walking in saying, why did you struggle with that particular area? So I concur with what Krista and Priya said. I think this is exciting. I think Amy said it earlier. There's a lot in there. This is exciting. I have questions too about how we're going to manage it all, but I trust these folks. I think that's a way to, and a lot of it is based solely on what the definition is. That's treating staff like the professionals they are. Having expectations that they know what they're doing, even more so than maybe we do. I'll stop now.
James, go ahead.
Yeah, so, from a parent perspective, I don't think many parents understand what happens on a professional day or in the early release. Our focus is, what am I gonna do to make sure my kids are watched and met off the bus and what have you. So I do think, and I know this has come up other times, kind of the communication, I think this is a great message to send to parents in terms of, and a lot of this is theoretical, and we have to see how it plays out, but as a parent listening to this seems to make a lot of sense, and I love when we give teachers more ability to be professionals and to use their experience, because they're the ones directly, one-on-one, especially after, so many things are mandated by the state, and so I think it's a good opportunity for the district to communicate with the parents about this once we get there. We're, this is early on, but I think that's a big part of it. So sorry. What happened?
Go ahead.
Just on the execution part, so this is really interesting, right? From including the PLC, so the professional learning, into the actual evaluation process, right? To get that peer to peer. When we talk about structuring and going into set times when we're doing like professional development days, for example, does that limit in any way the flexibility? Like, I understand the scheduling is really challenging to do it like on an ad hoc basis as real time things come up. So we're maybe leaning towards going to a more set time when we're going into our professional development every month or every other month or whenever we schedule it in. But if, for example, I'm a teacher that's struggling with a certain application of a concept with my students, and then the next cycle isn't until, 3-4 weeks from now, are we limiting in that, or is there still opportunity to maybe have like a hybrid, right, of the two models where it still allows for the ad hoc, but it still sets an expectation and for the like set time so that they have available?
Yeah, so it depends what we're defining as struggling.
Sure.
So if we're talking about a teacher who needs to be inside of a tier support plan, then that would put them inside of more of that traditional looking structure of visitation, feedback loop, written feedback and communication. What if we're talking about a teacher who just has they're trying to apply a new task that they haven't applied before, they see an opportunity for growth in their students, and they're trying to meet that need. A lot of our teachers on a regular basis are doing a lot of work outside of the school day to do their own research and their own planning, and they're kind of on these independent islands and doing a lot of that work. Or some of them are reaching out to our ILT members to say, hey, do you know what I could do with this? This is building more of a structured time to say, like, this is a specific time where you bring that problem into our group with other like-minded peers to focus in on that problem and see how we can actually meet the needs of those students. So it actually is providing more of a thoughtful and intentional time for this level of work to happen inside of the scheduled workday, opposed to I gotta wait till I get home or after the school day or try to scramble in the middle of prepping classes and trying to search for this. And I'm looking for someone who has an answer we're trying to build that into our work schedule. So I hope that kind of answers the question. It's,
I think it does. I totally understand the value of doing that. And I would assume too, if like, and then in between, right, the community set up, right? So they at least know who they might also go to in that time period in between meetings.
yes.
Well, if there's no other questions, we have a couple motions on the table here, to approve this evaluation plan for next year. All those in favor of the plan as presented by Dr. Fletcher tonight, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Thank you. Moving on, we have the Goodwin residency request.
So, in your policy there, we have a request from a Goodwin parent to allow their student to remain in Goodwin for the remainder of this school year. My understanding is in previous practice of the board, they support the principal, I'd be in support of allowing the student to continue for the completion of this school year, although they have moved outside of the district limits.
Karen?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Goodwin residency request as presented.
Second by Kelly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Thank you. Hey, we have a bid waiver in the pickup truck.
Good news. No bid waiver. Can't get a truck.
Oh.
So, we went through, I went through the state contract, went to the dealer who has the state contract for, in particular, because we've had Chevy or GMC vehicles. We cannot buy one off the lot through state bid. You have to order it. And they can't order a 2024. They could order a 2025, but the 2025 bid has not been approved yet by the state for 2025 Chevys. So we then went out for quotes. So I put it out to bid. I contacted 5 local dealers, personally emailed them directly, spoke with 2 other dealers, and nobody can get the truck. So I have no bid waiver. I was hoping I was gonna be able to have a price. We do have one bid that came in from Georgia to offer to sell us a truck. Not a dealer in Georgia, it's kind of a facilitator. For $74,000, that was the one quote that we did get through the bid process. But with that being, we can wait. Our truck isn't falling apart. It was scheduled to be replaced. We were hoping that that might be something we could do at the end of the year, but based on the timing and the inability to have a local vendor, I personally thought the price was a little on the higher side, but also it just didn't seem to make sense to have someone ship a truck up from Georgia and have no relationship with whoever it is, not even a dealer, not to mention the whole registration process in the state of Connecticut and everything else. It just didn't seem to make sense. That was my opinion. So my recommendation would be not to accept the bid as presented, that we do have that option. And then I don't have a bid waiver request because I can't get any other truck. We did have someone offer us, I could get a price on a diesel. We don't run diesels here. We don't haul with our trucks. They're harder to maintain. They require more constant running time or very short trips back and forth between schools. So on the recommendation of the guys who drive the trucks and maintain the trucks, we'll wait. And we'll see what we can get at a later time, perhaps, start earlier so that if we had to order a truck, which you can do, you can order the truck and then you have to wait for the dealer to pick up or the manufacturer to pick up the order. So the dealers can take your order and it sits there and, they get kind of their turn when they get picked up. And then you have probably 2 to 3 months, maybe more, for them to manufacture and deliver the vehicle. So it's not something that's feasible at this time of the fiscal year. So I would withdraw the request.
Just quick question, maybe this is a dumb one. In our vehicle replacement plan, is there anything else that's coming up to cycle fairly soon that maybe
We could get,
could swap?
we just have trucks. We just have the 2 trucks. One is, I think a 2019, and one's a 2012. It was a 2012 that we'd be looking to replace. Our other vehicles, the only other vehicles we have are special education transportation vehicles. Which at this point, you know, they're, as far as I know, we haven't had significant issues with them. They wouldn't be due to be replaced.
Okay.
And I did go, just so you know, when I did the local dealers, I did Ford, Chevy, GMC, Dodge, all of them, even though we've traditionally had GMCs or Chevys. I put it out there, got their emails, and nobody has anything.
If, I guess my question is, if we don't need to act on it right now to replace it, right? But the ordering has a long lead time, when we order it. and
Timing of the payment to get it done in the fiscal year.
Okay,
So, we had the issue back with when we did the dump truck. And it really ended up getting really drawn out, which kind of stretched the auditing capabilities of really keeping it in the fiscal year we wanted it to be in.
Yeah.
So it just seemed to be pushing it, and honestly, they can't guarantee how fast they can get it.
so if we budget in a fiscal year, maybe we should look at doing that big at least for the vehicles,
Right, sooner,
at the beginning
right.
of our
And-
fiscal year,
and
instead of
for-
waiting to the end.
For full transparency, this was budgeted for next year,
Okay,
so it is in next year's budget.
okay,
It was something with where we are financially this year, which we have done traditionally. If we can chip away at those capital purchases in the end of the fiscal year, and we're able to do that, we've traditionally moved things up in the process. So we will still have it budgeted for next year, which is why we can look at, you know, in the fall, at that point, look at ordering it, and that way it would still make it within that fiscal year.
well, I mean, July 1, we could put the order in. Because it's a new fiscal year. And
Yeah.
that way we have plenty of time, like if it's a 3-month lead time and something happens and now it's a 9-month lead time, we're still within our fiscal year and
Yeah, we
I
have,
don't-
we have a little, it's more
I guess my point, I wouldn't.
accessibility of my time to execute it in the summer. I wasn't going to assume that, we'd be full staffed and therefore really truly be able to, you know, get that taken care of, where giving it a couple months to the fall should still give us time, but I definitely agree, sooner in the year, and not assume that trucks are easy to come by.
And I know you told me this, you said this earlier tonight, though. Even if we could order a truck today, there's no 24s available, so you have to order 25, and the bid for the 25 aren't out yet, so
Right, so it
Couldn't
would
even
still have
order
to be a bid waiver, and we can't get a price.
you can't get a price.
Unbelievable. I had a couple of dealers just, oh, let me look, and never heard back from them. Even the dealer who currently has a state bid never got back to me with what he might have on the lot. You know, I was willing to look at, we usually only do single cabs. I was willing to look at extended, but it's hard to get a full 8-foot bed with that, with materials that we purchase, you know. It just seemed like we call it for now, no more time and energy on something that doesn't seem to be happening.
Jenny, a question?
I was wondering, what about like, the town? Do we interact with the town in terms of their equipment? Is it separate or is any of this stuff ever shared?
We don't share trucks.
You don't?
No,
All right.
no, and honestly, what we use our trucks for is very different from the
I can imagine.
the wear and tear that the town crew puts on their trucks, because they have a lot more road miles than we do. So I don't know officially whether any action needs to be taken. I know I'd originally requested, but
No action.
Okay.
Moving on, bid awards.
Bid awards. Okay, as part of our policy, the board has the determining factor when we have gone out for bids. So I had to extend the high school crack filling, sealing and striping bid because I had it originally posted for 10 days and had no bids. So I extended it to this morning, at 10 o'clock. Reached out to, two people who had done it for us before, plus a third local person to try and get someone to work for us. I received a bid this morning from Aero Paving for $52,093 to take care of the high school parking lot, including repaving an 8-foot by 8-foot section that has sunk in the back of the high school parking lot. And that includes the full, cleaning of the cracks, filling the cracks, sealing, coating, relining everything as it is now. Additionally, their products, just so you're aware, meet the state mandate for, municipalities and public schools that they are non-coal tar-based material. Which has escalated the price in recent years because it's a very limited amount of vendors who can supply the products. We had originally budgeted $35,000 for this. Therefore I was a little surprised when I was surprised at the price because the budget was $35,000. And so I said, we just did the middle school. Let me see how much we paid for the middle school. So we ended up paying, $45,876 for the middle school. And so the high school is $52,000, so closer, bigger, and closer than what we had originally budgeted. Because I was at first concerned that we were way off, but when we look at what the actual was for the middle school parking lot, it was the 45. So with that, it is our only bid that I present for the parking lot seal and stripe. And it is a local company out of Clinton, Aero Paving.
So I'd like to make a motion to, I don't remember the name of the company, to award.
Aero Paving.
Aero to award the 2024 OSHS parking lot sealing and striping bid to Aero Paving. Thank you.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second to Jane.
We have to put the dollar amount.
It's $52,093.
52.93.
Any further discussion on this? Questions? Hey, all those in favor of the bid award? Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? So moved. So we have the Old City Middle School gym painting.
Okay, we received 2 bids for the middle school gym painting. Lentilman Painting for $64,280 and General Builders for $63,700. The difference is less than 1%. Lentilman had done, last year had done the painting in the high school gym, has done some other projects for us, is local and known to us. And with the difference less than 1%, and it was actually pretty nice to see them come in as close as they did to one another. It gives you some little validity to what you're receiving. But it is up to the board's discretion if they, want to choose one over the other.
I think your rationale for choosing Lincoln makes a lot of sense. So, I'd like to make a motion to have the Old Saybrook Board of Ed award the 2024 OSMS gym painting bid to Lincoln Painting for the amount of $64,280.
And a second. Second by Eileen. Any further discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? Abstention? So moved. Okay, we have HVAC indoor air quality grants.
Big deal.
Okay, so this is good news, good news. We were awarded in this round of grants, up to $486,871.79 for the Goodwin School project. And so the next steps with that will be going through the online process of getting them whatever documentations they need, as we are close to finishing the project.
And you said up to, or is that the amount?
Well, it's up to based on what our final expenditures are. So they will base the grant off of what our proposed estimates were. We still have to support, provide supporting documentation that was, what the project's full expenditures were.
Yeah.
And we expect it, we don't
Okay.
expect it to vary.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because at that point, we were just waiting for the switch, which we already had the contract pricing for.
Okay.
And we're making progress. We're pulling wires now. Very expensive wire.
I see all the wires over by Goodwin, those big rolls.
And I'm just, yes, it's a lot. It's a lot of money. I would like it not so obvious, but I'm not about to move them, so.
People want AC.
I'm hoping nobody else is that, willing to. Okay, any other questions on
No, I
that?
was just gonna say that in the memo, thank you for recognizing Julie Huntington and James for the efforts that they put forth in order to get this.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. That was all done on their clock and we wouldn't have been able to receive a grant without it.
Very good news. Okay, finally, funding for the track maintenance project.
So we've talked throughout the budget process about the track resurfacing up at the high school. The town obviously knows about it from when we had discussions with our budget presentation. One of the things, as I mentioned before, that we look at doing things we have in the budget. If there's the opportunity fiscally to get something completed and move it up, we try and do that. This would have been one of those projects, except the availability of the vendor, because they only work in the summer, late spring, early fall. To get the time booked to do our track without closing our track for a seasonal sport can only be next spring. So we can't bridge it the way we had hoped. Either being next summer where we could bridge the end of fiscal year 25 into fiscal year 26. But they can get the job said and done between Memorial Day and graduation next year. They feel they can comfortably do that, so nothing's amiss during that time period. In order to do that, they need a purchase order. For me to issue a purchase order, I have to know where the money's coming from. So we have the $125,000 in the fiscal year 25 budget. We will have it the remainder of this year. At the end of this fiscal year, we will have the remaining funds between the excess cost funds that go to the town for our high cost special education students, as well as within our operating budget balance. There are sufficient funds that we would like to go to the Board of Finance the beginning of June to ask them if they can support setting that money aside from the end of this year to cover the difference between what is in the budget for fiscal year 25 and what the full cost would be, because the project's gonna land in that one fiscal year. And with that, I can then issue a purchase order, they can hold our date, and we can get the optimal spot of late May, so that we don't have to close the field, we don't have to have fall sports someplace else because we need to close it down to get the track taken care of. So in an ideal world, that would be our hope. And we wanted to make sure we brought that to you, so you were aware that was what we were going to be proposing to the Board of Finance. I don't necessarily know that they will vote to definitively do that, but I think if we can get their support, that that would take place, we could feel more comfortable promising to pay that much money, which is what the purchase order will do.
And I had a question for you.
Sure.
Isn't there a meeting in the summer where they set aside funds for projects for next year?
Yes, so officially after the fiscal year closes, and usually it's August, perhaps September, because they go through the full closing, which doesn't happen until the end of July. Then they're gonna review that, so usually it'll be sometime August or September where they can officially propose to town meeting to transfer that money into a non-recurring account to complete the project.
So you're looking for board approval for 125 to be potentially set aside for this project?
The 125 is already in the budget
Oh, okay, got
and
it.
earmarked for that,
Yeah.
so I don't know that the board needs to take action.
Okay.
It's more your questions before we go to the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance will get the same documents that you received for tonight's meeting, so that they have the information ahead of time as well. It's more of a timing.
Any questions for Pam?
The walkway.
Pop quiz?
Do you need anything from us, Pam, in terms of?
I don't think so.
like-
This is more,
Just,
so you were
yeah.
aware that a discussion was gonna take place with Board of Finance.
Right, just to like let the Board of Finance know that we're like giving you the thumbs up to,
Yeah,
if that would be helpful, that was my question.
if a consensus,
Yeah, let's go around the room, let's get a consensus on what we wanna do, so. Are we all in favor of doing this?
Yes.
Right, I'll start having a paper.
Yeah. That was easy.
all right, thank you.
That's fine. Those are fun.
Awesome. And then you had a general question?
Yeah. The walkway, will that be ready for graduation?
You would, I believe at this point, the town, it's the town's project for,
Okay.
Mon- Monument Way,
Yeah.
Yes.
Monument Way. I'm like, it's not Memorial Way, it's Monument Way. I think the only thing that we have left to do is there's some plantings that need to be put in there. One of the things we are also doing, at the end of the year is we need to move the gate that accesses the field, because where Monument Way now lands, it blocks access so that it's hard for our machine to get in there. So in order to preserve that we don't damage Monument Way, we're shifting the gate.
The gate to the track or the gate to what?
I believe it's the gate to the track.
Okay.
Because the turf machine that goes and maintains
I didn't know
the,
there was a turf machine.
yeah,
Not like a
maintain the turf.
Zamboni?
Not quite, not
No.
quite.
Interesting.
So before we adjourn tonight, a couple of reminders, tomorrow night we have, of course, Chris's welcome celebration for our night here.
I'm hungry.
Where is that?
It's the middle school.
Cafeteria.
Cafeteria, I'm sorry.
I will do just that.
Please do.
And don't forget, next week on Wednesday evening, we have a special meeting at 7 p.m. Okay. You there?
What do we have?
Special meeting next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Case,
And 5:30 tomorrow.
Yes.
so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, okay. Good night, everyone. Thank you all.